Welcome to this live stream where I'm going to talk about how we as creators and entrepreneurs should approach AI. I wanted to keep this conversational as I'm live right now on YouTube, mainly as well as TikTok. And I wanted us to get into the discussion bit of it rather than immediately trying to figure out the answers. Why am I saying that? A big part of my method is about reflexivity. It's about giving ourselves the opportunity to become much more aware of our assumptions, our biases, our beliefs, and how they could be interpreting things for us. And when we do that, then we kind of move from this position of needing to be absolutely sure and confident about all the answers in contrast to being curious and having an open mind. And so that's why I wanted to have it in this format, this conversation. I think it's really important that we, sorry, I'm just setting up my live at the same time. um there you go, it's working. We kind of end up being in this sort of situation where we want to be absolutely sure before we do something. Having that kind of a mindset isn't going to actually support us in a new AI world. Being absolutely sure about something and having all the guarantees, knowing exactly what you're going to do, isn't actually going to serve anyone who's going to have to be agile, adaptable, and curious. So, welcome if you are joining my live on YouTube and TikTok. I appreciate you here. Serena's Playbook Method is about me essentially bringing together my 20 plus years in comms and media and strategic consulting with my systems thinking approach. I'm currently studying systems thinking as an MSc, and it has quite honestly leveled up my strategic thinking, critical thinking times 100. And the main reason it's done that is because I won't be immediately attached to an outcome or a fact. Because as we know, in this world that we're in currently, facts change because things change. The pace of change is such that you might be comfortable right now in one spot and feel quite sure, feel quite secure. Something will change and immediately you will feel the uncertainty. You'll feel the discomfort of the uncertainty. And the great thing about systems thinking is that it essentially has you dealing with messy complexity. And AI for us is a complex and potentially messy situation that we can't immediately get our head round. But that should be absolutely fine because there are certain things that we do know. So we do know, let's get to that bit. So for the next however long, weeks, months, potentially this year, we will be looking at ways to incorporate and implement AI into our workflow and our work stream. I think the stat is something like on average 39% of your work will be subject to automation. I think that's a stat I've heard by a futurist called Sinead Bovell. So the main thing right now for us is to go through a course of identification, is for us to identify what is it that I do on a regular basis that is going to be easily automated, easily delegated to an AI agent, software, etc., even if it requires me to curate, to tweak, to revise, to monitor, because you're still going to need to have that human interaction with the automation because it is your work. So all is not immediately lost. What will be lost is the opportunity to figure out how you collaborate and work with AI, is what I'm essentially right now hearing, sensing when I'm doing my research, listening to those very much at the center of this new gold rush for AI, it's been termed. So, the first and foremost thing for us, thank you so much. If you're on YouTube and TikTok, please do like and subscribe, follow if you haven't already. The main thing for us right now is to not be in a panic state. I did a short stream reacting to the recent news of Google launching Veo 3. And I did it on my media literacy channel. And I was quite tempered and neutral about it. I think I was deliberately snarky, saying, why is everyone losing their minds? Why is there so much fear mongering? Because change will happen and there'll be change that we are not comfortable with, and getting our head around it, adjusting to it can be a little bit of a pain. That's with all change. So there's that fear and that discomfort in having to tackle change, in having to be responsive to change, because then you are well and truly out of your comfort zone. Let's not even call it a comfort zone. You're well and truly out of your zone of familiarity, because right now, how you do things repeatedly is familiar. And what's familiar is a pattern. And you predict based on those patterns. You predict the future and how it will impact you based on pattern recognition, what you know so far. But right now, what you do on a regular basis, the patterns that you have built up, rely on, are subject to change. They're going to get messed with. There will be disruption. It feels like disruption. It could just be change, but it feels like disruption because you rely on these patterns. What a wonderful vantage point to have if you can truly detach from your regular day-to-day familiarity zone and take a step back and not be reactive to said changes. That's precisely what we're discussing here on Serena's Playbook. Is we are trying our best to take a step back, so that we aren't reactive, so that we can absolutely be in a state of agility, curiosity, and openness, so that we can be more collaborative with new changes. You know this as much as anyone. How does it feel when you are closed off and you aren't open? How does that impact any kind of collaboration? If you're collaborating in your personal life, if you're collaborating in your business life with a business partner, if you are closed, if you aren't trusting, if you aren't open, how does that impact the quality of collaboration? There's this sort of strange, naive idea that before we collaborate with anything, we must know it completely and trust it entirely. I think a lot of our personal, human, relational experience tends to spill over into how we conduct ourselves in business, in our creativity, and in our content creation. So, entrepreneurs and creators, let's address that. Let's look at how we go about. Thank you so much watching for those watching on YouTube and TikTok. Let's look at how we allow our patterns. Remember, I'm talking about pattern recognition, our patterns and our behaviors in our personal life and how we are in a relational way, how that actually mirrors itself, reflects itself in our business professional lives. An interesting scenario: you may not act out in the way that you do personally when you're in your professional context, but you absolutely mentally, internally are. And when you do that, regardless of what you say and how you mask, you are not open to collaborate. So, how can you get yourself into a state of openness? There's only so much you can do to mask. There's only so much you can get from masking. You might be able to fool somebody for 10, 20, 30 seconds and then be able to move on and think, phew, just got out of that. But it's the same mindset, that same closed mindset. Thank you so much for watching on YouTube and TikTok right now and liking the live. We're talking about how a state of openness, a state of curiosity is necessary for us to approach a collaborative relationship with AI. If you're in business, if you're a creator, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to identify the things that you do on a regular basis, the tasks you do, the things that you're attached to doing that you feel you do so well. What is your 36%? Apparently the average figure, the figure for how much of your work will be automated. So what's your 36%? Let's go with that figure. Let's go with 30%. Let's go for 40%. Whatever the percentage, if there is a chunk or a significant enough slice of your work that you will do on a regular basis that can be delegated and automated, what does that free you to do? It's really important instead of panicking and reacting, we ask these questions of ourselves. They're wonderful questions to ask of yourself because you go from a panic state into a possibility state, from panic to potential. If we ask ourselves these questions, what can I do? If the stuff I do on a regular basis is delegated, is automated with my collaboration with the AI, with the agent, etc., because my input will still be required, what will I be freed up to do then? How exciting that I get to learn how different AI systems, software, agent, etc., work for me. How much more value can I produce and provide? You're awesome for watching on TikTok and YouTube right now. But think about that possibility state, that potential state, rather than, oh, the doom and the gloom of it. Of course, there are going to be risks, as there are with everything. Risks to privacy, to freedom, to everything. Are we going to stay? Are we going to stay in that state? Are we going to allow ourselves to reside in this state of, oh, yeah, but, that state of, oh, yeah, but, you know what that sounds to me like? What's quite familiar? It's that kind of negative Nancy. Sorry if your name's Nancy. It's that kind of negative Nancy state of mind where You're like, oh, there's no point. It's like, I don't want to go to the gym. What's the point? I'm gonna get sweaty. I've got to take my kit with me. Oh, it's just so much time and effort. What are the rewards? What about what about switching our thinking to what the rewards and the opportunities and potential could be? We're all panicking. Why aren't we spending 15 minutes on any of the new apps that are currently being recommended on those? You've seen those. They're on LinkedIn, they're on various social media feeds where there's a whole chart. There's a whole chart of icons for different AI systems, software agents, etc., that you can use, apps, etc., that you can use to get to grips with it and find out what works for you. Google it, chat GPT it, grok it, whatever floats your boat. Instead of scrolling, we could be doing that. I am itching to do it right now. I'm itching to do it, but I'm right now putting the finishing touches. I use AI. There's more to do. I can't wait. But right now, I'm putting finishing touches on a new masterclass that I'm about to launch within 20 to 48 hours. And this is for creators and entrepreneurs to get their head around managing their reputation and approaching risks. Otherwise, right now, instead of it being half term and I'm not in parent mode and about to hit the park with my kid, I would be holed up at my desk in a corner in the dark with multiple screens going in. That's the kind of hunger and curiosity we should have. And even if in the end we're all going to be in little pods like in the Matrix, what a ride! What a ride! Freedoms have always been at risk, and you could argue we are not entirely free, or you could say we are so free. It's all context dependent. It depends on your thinking, depends on your interpretation, your approach. All of these things. Again, that's a reflexivity of it. What are my assumptions right now? What are my beliefs? What are my biases right now about the world I live in, about who I am, about my freedoms? Because that is going to impact my approach to something new. What is your approach to something new? Are you nervous? Or are you just sticking with one AI app and thinking that's enough and I'll just focus on that and that will do me fine? Let's have fun, play with it. So, my kind of sermon right now, I didn't realize I'd be getting in this kind of sermon energy right now, is we should absolutely make some time to play, to explore, to figure this out. Figure out, number one, how are you going to be integrating it into your workflow? As I said at the start, and as I wind this down, as I said at the start, if the figure is true that it's like 30 to 40% on average, every role will be automated in terms of its tasks, right? 30 to 40% of every role on average. Then identify the things that you can absolutely delegate and automate. Remember, human input will be required. And this is right now, what we know right now. This could change. My next sermon to you could absolutely change. And that should be okay. Because right now, we are not saying that we definitively, expertly know that this is going to be the way going forward, because that's the problem. That's the mindset problem. The mindset problem is trying to know and, and asserting that we know everything right now when it's not possible. So, right now, the information we have, the facts that we have from this conversation, from the current research that we've seen. Remember, the only research that you've seen. What kind of research is it? Who's done it? What's their worldview? Because remember, a researcher also has their own assumptions, their own biases. What's their worldview? What kind of research methodology did they use? So, just be in this perpetual questioning, curious mindset. And to finish, I'll answer the question, but Serena, why is that fun? Like, shouldn't we know some things for sure? Of course, right now, what I know for sure is I'm going to close this live. I'm going to get my bag, get my shoes. I'm going to start my car. Those are things that I rely on, and I'm going to go to the park with my kid, whether it's now or in a few hours or tomorrow, whatever. That's what I would potentially do next. And what, let's just say right now I'm going to go to my desk. This is also a possibility to my other works, sort of my other setup, and do a media literacy stream because I need to talk about latest updates and announcements when it comes to AI. I know for certainty that should everything work fine, my Wi-Fi, my camera, my Twitch stream, my YouTube account, all of it is just going to work fine. There's some certain, we are all operating on certainty. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to get some things done. Remember, there's certain patterns that have to continue to pattern. So, you can't get into this emotionally reactive state. Yeah, but we know we have to know some things. You do, you know plenty. You've got plenty to keep you secure and certain. I know I'm getting my mummy voice on right now, but it is half term and I am in parent mode as well. But, I think sometimes the parental voice, the inner parent, kind parent, but firm parent, is necessary to say, it's cool, explore. It's cool. You'll be fine. Get up, dust yourself off. That kind of approach that we should have with ourselves so that, we're not so reactive and limited in our thinking and in our doing. So it's just been so wonderful. I know, a bit bizarre and sermon like for me to speak to you in this way. Do keep an eye out for announcements for a new shorter masterclass being released in advance of my summer masterclass, which is the shebang. So watch out for those announcements. It's been so awesome having you here on YouTube. Thank you so much, new subs and existing ones, for your support, watching the content, engaging with it, and also TikTok. And I will see you in the very next one.